Hello everyone, welcome back to the Artisan of Glimmith. Yesterday, I left in the middle of this puzzle, or really at the beginning. This one, I was able to figure out some set of cells that have to be part of the big 26 region. And then every wall has to have the 26 on one side and a different region on the other side. And it seems like these regions probably all have to be dominoes, but not for sure, because there could be 2 3s and 2 2s if I could figure that out. So, I know I played with this a little bit. Could I do that? Could that be 2 3s? This would have to connect. It looks like I could, actually. These could be the 2s, right? Yeah, okay. Well, maybe I could have finished this one last episode. Oh well. I played around with some other way of doing it. I didn't see it, but this way totally works. We could have a crack at this 6. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch left in the area. Minimum 5. So we have to do at least this, and you have to get here as well. So that's right. Minimum 5, not necessarily exactly 5. As always with these shape, I don't know. When I don't know, just in a lot of cases, it's useful to know the size of the whole region, the whole area. So this is a 7 by 7. We have 49. And there are 6 regions. Okay, well, that takes up at least 30, which is not very constraining at all. Blue has to come to at least here. This red has to... Well, no, it could do this. No, it can't, because this would be trapped. So you, in fact, have to get that. Which means you have to go the long way. A very long way. Huh. Well, okay, if I have a minimum 5, this has to be the 5. That region is done. Because this, if it takes this blue, this guy's going to be in a lot of trouble, right? It's not necessarily fatal, but it's quite difficult. And like, how does this get out? Actually, I can't justify that line. This could well come up here. You have to come up to here. So you have to go this way. Wow, really? This still has... No, this doesn't... Well... Right, its minimum size is 5, so it has to go to at least here, but it can't go any further up, so it's got to take those 5. This has to connect here. I guess technically I shouldn't wall this off, because in principle it could go up, but that's obviously going to ruin everything else. guess I just connect these. Okay. Minimum 4. This is a 6x6 puzzle with 9 regions. So it's just exactly 4 as well, right? Okay. This can take at most these 2 cells. Not even that much. At most one of these cells, because this has to get out a bit further. So it has to take at least 2 cells in that direction. Which means this has to come down, and this has to come down. They each have to go at least 1 further, but I don't know where exactly. This one has to get to this cell. I don't know how. It could go this way, or it could go this way, or it could do both. But it has to get there somehow. So this has to come down, which means this does and this does. This cell, the only window it can get to in 4 is that one. Or not window, the only rose symbol. And this one has to go here. This is maybe where I should have started. Those connect up in one of these 2 ways. Now that I've got this all done, this cell can only go here. This cell has to reach here. This cell can't be part of purple because purple would be too big, so it has to get up here. And that's the whole region. What was this? Is this? No, that's okay. Oh. I don't think I ever saw this one somehow. I gave up on this one when I was in this area. Well, maybe this one was off last time I was here. You weren't allowed to do it yet. That makes sense. Maximum 2 and a bunch of deltas and Geminis, huh? Interesting. Well, this is a 1. If it were a 2, it would reach to here, and this would be a 2, and then the delta would be messed up. So that's a 1, which means this is a 2. This is a 2. I think the same is... No, the same is not so obviously true here. This, though, yes, it can't be a 1. There would be too many 2s coming off it. 1 here, and 1 here, right? So it's a 2. And so is this. That's a 1. These are all 1s. That's got to be a 2. That's a 1. That 2 goes there. This has to be a 1, and this has to be a 2. This is a size 25 puzzle. with at least 2 different regions in it. I think probably more. Yes. Well, there can't just be 2, because 2 of them have to be the same, and one of them has to be size 12. So those 2, if they were the only 2, would be size 24, and then minimum 3 means we couldn't have a singleton to fill it in. So there must be at least 3 regions. And the 12 can't touch any of the Geminis. That's very important. Right? So it could take at most these 10 cells down here without, well, and this one. So we could take these 11 cells maybe and escape to there. But it does have to at least take that. And knowing that none of the Geminide cell borders are the 12, I mean, is that important? Yes, of course, but can I do anything with it right now? I know there are these other regions. How big can they be? I guess another question you might ask, could red and blue be the same region, or must they be different regions? It seems hard for them to be the same region, but that's not a proof. I mean, they would have to connect by going up and over or down and under, which both are very constraining. Like this way, the 12 has to take up a bunch more space. And then, like, how do you fit another U shape in here? Even if the 12 has these 8, it still needs like 4 more? There's no way you can fit a U in, so they can't go under. And I don't think they can go over either. Because now there's nowhere to put another U, right? Maybe here? But then I need another U here. Well, actually, if they weren't U's, but this, oh, this is so close, but it's not right. Because now this 12 has to be size 13. Right? So, I think it's impossible for these to be the same region. They must be different regions, which means there is another region in here that is the same shape as each of them. So, okay, if I use up 12 of my 25 cells, I have 13 left? And at least 3 regions of at least size 3. But the same size. So they couldn't be size 4. Because then there'd only be 1 cell left to work with, right? Because I have 13. If they were size 5, there'd be a problem. So these are each size 3 regions. And then, somewhere else, there's a 4. And this can't touch the 4. It has to touch 2 of these 3s. Well, the only way to get a 3 over here is like that. So this must be that they are all elbow shapes. And then this is my 4. Yeah, nice. Some solid deductive work. I'm sure you could get there faster. I'm not the most expert puzzle solver in the universe, but I liked that it seemed like there were, I don't know, like most of these puzzles, a kind of a path from knowing nothing to figuring things out and gradually reducing the possibility space until you get to something manageable. Right, that's kind of a core element of puzzles like this is you have, or of solving puzzles like this anyway, you have these 56 squares and a few places where there are rules about how they behave and a bunch more rules about how everything behaves, and it just seems like there's a million possibilities for how things could be, right? Not so much on this one because, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is just another example of the same thing, but like, what I'm talking about, I guess, is the idea of finding a break-in a puzzle, which I could not find here. This one, it's an example where, to me, it just looks so, like, there's so many things that could happen. I tried the one thing that's obviously, like, cute, but it doesn't work, right? And then I don't have quite the right tools. Well, these being different regions is kind of interesting, isn't it? I don't know. Hang on, maybe I can do this one after all. Let me think about this a little bit more. So this shape I have to have at least 2 of, which I say because if you try to have only one, you run into a contradiction. So there's at least 2 different question marks in here. How big is it? 9. And they can't be up against the wall. And this shape, I mean, constricts kind of how they behave, although, I don't know, I mean, it means we can't have one that goes, you know, like this or something, I guess. But there's 9 of these. And how big is the region I have to work with? It's pretty big. 18 plus 14, it's 32. I mean, could there be 3 of these? It seems very difficult to imagine that. So there are probably just 2. Taking up 18 of my 32, leaving me 14 more to play with. I mean, I don't know, what if we did... I'm just really bad at shapes. So this is an example of a shape, right? This is... Oh, you're supposed to... Yeah. That's an example of the correct shape. But I don't think I can get anything here, right? To be correct. Yeah, I don't. I still give up on this. I can't. But like, okay, so. Hey, where are you? You're right there. Oh. Wasn't there a different one that I looked at that... Did I solve that one while I was in the middle of talking about these things? I went looking for one that would be a better example of what I was talking about break-ins. But just, I think that's an important skill, is finding, and on that puzzle, for example, that we just gave up on for the second or third time, I don't have the right mental tools. Oh, it was yeah, this is the one that, okay. Here, I kind of do know how to get started, right? This, you gotta, everything, there can't be singletons, and so all of these edges you can extend out a bit. I don't know. Why was I saying this? Just like, that's a core skill to solving this kind of puzzle, is figuring out where there are interactions that let you start actually deducing something. Even if it's not concrete, like, oh, there has to be a wall here. Things like, oh, here's how the region has to be divided, the total area has to be divided among whatever sets of regions. Maybe that's where you have to start until that, you figure those out, and that gives you new constraints to work with. So like here, these first 3 steps are very easy. But now it's less clear, right? Oh, well, this one has to go as well. Oh, and look, see this? This can't just be a 3-piece, because I can't fit an elbow here. So that has to go at least that far. And if this did this, there's no way I could put a U out here. So it doesn't do that, but it can't go to just here. Because then, well, okay, I guess even more simple. I can say, does this do this? No, I can't put a U here. So it stops here. Now this one can't go here and stop, because it would be delta'd incorrectly. And it can't go here and stop, because we can't fit a U. So it stops there, and now I have a new region here to work with. This is a straight of at least 3, so this one has to go up at least 1. This is a straight of at least 3, so this has to go up at least 1. Ah, this has to be an L, which previously looked like it could go either way, but definitely can't actually go here. So it has to do that. This is an L, which means it needs to use this corner, and then extend out one more in one direction, don't know which. These now can't just be a region of size 2. They have to join up to here, and that finishes this region. Not only is it already bordered in, but it's at the maximum size. So now I know what shape this is. It needs to be 4 in a row and then a turn, which it can't do if it goes up there. It has to turn here and use this cell. So this has to do that. This has to be 4 in a row, like, oops. Uh-oh. Oh, right. It could be oriented differently. It could be this way, which it will have to be. And now these are the same region. This has to get to at least here. And it can't connect up here, because then this Gemini would mean we'd need a V over here, so it stops. These have to connect up. Problem? And clearly, yes, this is a problem. How did I get here? So we had all this. And this one we said has to continue because I can't put an elbow here. But it can't go any further because I can't put a U here, so it stops like that. This one can't go all this far because I can't put a U here. And it can't stop here because I can't have it be the same as the thing it's deltoed with, so it stops here. This cell is Gemini'd to 3 in a row. So it has to be at least 3 in a row. Which means even if it goes... Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. That's not true. I said it has to do this. That's unfounded. It could be that it does this, and that's how it gets its 3 in a row. I see. Alright, so this needs to be an L shape, but it can't go over here. It has to do this. This L shape needs to use the corner. These two need a parent region. These three have to go together. This can only go straight some distance. So this cell can't be part of this region. It needs to be its own thing. And it has to extend out at least this far to get to 3 cells. But it could take that one, so it doesn't have to go any further necessarily. This cell can't be part of this region because this is an L. So it has to go to at least there. Oh, this is definitely an L, and so it can't reach as far as here, which means this cell needs a parent, and it's U. So this has to come down this far, and now it really is stopped. So now we know the L goes this way, that has to go there. This has to extend at least one more. Now I imagine we're looking here? But I don't know what to do with it. Maybe this is the important point. This has only 2 possible exact layouts. It could be this, Or it could be this. It can't, for example, reach all the way up here. It's too big. So either way, it has to use this corner. Of course, I found this a while ago, or pretty early on in the first attempt, but I forgot about it until now in this attempt. So now we know this has to be part of a corner. So it's got to go there. I kind of think, well, no. I was going to say that I must be doing this. Because how could I ever resolve this uniquely? But the answer is this Gemini could tell me if I could figure out what's going on in here. So imagine that this stopped. Oh, it can't. Right. It has to extend out 2 more steps in some direction. Exactly 2 more steps. So, I mean, okay, for what it's worth, those 2 cells are in the same region. Either this one or this one. I don't think that's helpful to write down, but it is true. Oh, this cell, no. I briefly was imagining this was a Gemini, not a Delta. I mean, I guess it is something to know that we don't have that shape. Because what if this were walled off, right? Would we maybe... Oops. Would we have a problem? This would have to go 3. And be different from this, so this would have to extend. Oh, wait a minute. I see. This shape is carrying more information than I noticed. It has to be the same as this, and I said, oh great, I'll make them both, I'll make it a corner. But I know more than that. This region is a Gemini to this region, a long L. So this one has the same shape. It can't reach left. It doesn't have room. It has to go up that way. And now, this can't go up because it would be delta to something it's Gemini to. So we have to do this. We're very zoomed out. What does this say? This looks like writing. Minimums? I see. Cute. Minimum 2. Boy, I want to use my scroll wheel to zoom in on this. It's such a big region. Well, okay, let's just start drawing things in. This is the same as this. It can't go up then, because I can't fit a plus here. So that's done. That's got to go there. That's a 3. This ain't a 3. And it's the same as this, so this isn't a 3 either. But these can't both be bigger than 3. So they must both be smaller than 3, i.e. 2. Now I have a Gemini here. This Gemini goes there. That's a 2. This isn't a 2. That's got to pick this up. This is an L. Okay. I see. This cell, as far as this little sub area is concerned, we could do this making a T or this making an L. And that would be fine up here as well. I could put a T or an L in here. But if I put a T in here, I have to put a T here as well. Which looks fine. There's the T. But now these regions are cut off. So this can't be a T. It's an L. Now that doesn't mean this is necessarily an L. Maybe we do this, right? So this is not a V and it's also not a V. Well, that's pretty obvious to me. You couldn't fit a V in here anyway. Why do you need these deltas? I don't think I used them at all to get to where I am. Maybe there are multiple solution paths and this could be important on one of them. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about something. Oh, these are size at least 2, huh? So this then can't be an L, it has to be an I. Oops. But this one has to be a T. So we have this and this. Yeah. Oh, no problem. This is, can I like, I want to just mark this one as like deleted from the game, please. I don't mean like the game everyone else is playing, but let me erase it from my instance or cover it in blood or something so I know to leave it alone. Minimum 8. 8. Bro, the whole region is only size 25. And there's at least 2 different regions. There could just barely be 3 regions. It's hard to imagine, but maybe. Well, wait a minute. There must be 3 regions. Because these 2 are the same size. If they were the only 2, we'd have an even-sized area, but we don't. So there have to be 2 8s and a 9. Okay. I'm not sure how I can start, like, nailing down anything. You know, you can do stuff like say, oh, these have to be different regions, but, and these have to be, and like these have to be, but like I run out of colors and, you know, I don't know if these 2 are both different from this, but are they the same as each other? I don't know. Well, oh, but okay. I think I see some of the point here. Everywhere there's a delta, one side has to be a 9 and the other side has to be an 8. Well, is that true? Yes. Because the 2 8s are Gemini. They can't, therefore, also be delta with each other. Aha. So this needs a 9 on both sides of the wall. can I figure out which sides of either of these walls the 9 is on? It seems very straightforward if the 9 is in here, right? But I don't know why that would necessarily be true. It seems to me you could maybe have the 9... Well, no, this is very difficult. Having the 9 be on top of this maybe could just work if you put it on the inside of this. If you wanted it on this side of this wall, I mean, you just can't do it because it would have to do that. So if the 9 is on the outside here, it has to be here on the inside of this one. And you can't do that because it has to get to one of these two cells. So the 9 is on this side. Is there any way I can color code? What color will remind me that it's 9? Green for even? Orange for odd, I think, is sort of normal. Well, actually, down here I don't know. So let's make these blue and red or something. But so these have to be some even region. And so does this. Because this orange has to go to either here or here, and therefore, in fact, both. And both even regions have to get to here. So how does this even region get here? Not this way. So it has to come like this, down to here. And then get to here some way. Maybe through here or maybe going straight. But either way, this orange region can't get to blue. So this must be the side of the region of this wall that's orange. And we're at, what, 7 cells? That's not bad. So this turns out to be green as well, but I don't know if it's the same region as this. Well, yeah, I don't. So this region has to come out. Now that I've got my orange labeled, I'd like to have 2 different colors for green, but the problem is I don't know which one is which yet. Like, this could do this for all I know. Kind of hard to replicate that here, isn't it? Yeah, it actually can't do that. So this green region has to get to here. So let's color those purple. They live together. I still don't know what color this was. This purple or is it the other green? But this up here, I know, has to get to here. So it has to do that. And it only has room for 2 more cells. If it takes these 2, I mean, it's obviously a different shape from this region, so that can't be. So at least one of these cells must be orange. we have to take this cell. Because if we don't, like, what are we doing exactly? This? That leaves purple a very hard time. This? That takes this away, right? So, yeah, I mean, this purple can't be the right shape. So I think we need this cell. Which means purple... Well, also, now I definitely have figured out that this is purple and not the other green. And no one can reach here except purple. And the same is true of here. I think this is the last orange cell because I don't see how purple can... Well, no, it can't be because purple needs a 2x2 in it. Okay. But now purple needs a little nib that's too long and there isn't room for it. Right? It needs this. Or maybe if I did that and that? Yeah, now they're the same shape. Okay. Well, that was a cool puzzle. You know, it was big Geminis and stuff, which is the kind of thing I say I'm bad at, but there was a way to break down most of that puzzle where you don't really have to visualize what giant shapes are doing. Minimum 7. This puzzle is of size 20. So I can't have 3 regions. There are exactly 2. And they're the same shape. There are 2 regions of size 10 that are the same shape. Well, this cell is kind of exciting, right? Because it can't take both of these cells. Why is that interesting? Good question. It's tempting on these Geminis to say, like, oh, well, this has to get out probably in both directions. But the problem is I don't know that. I know it has to get out in one direction. I don't know about both. Well, this is a corner for both of them. I mean, I don't think you can just do this. You can't just cut the grid in half. It's not going to work. So they have to be... Oh, whoa, actually, I accidentally, I think, found the right starting point. Because aren't I always going on about how when you have only 2 regions and they're along an edge, there can only be one crossing point, one area where they touch. And I think, I mean, don't I need this? Isn't that required? And then after that, like, surely it's easy. There are very few choices left. That's blue. And these are purple. So that's got to be blue. That's got to be blue. And these are the purples. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this was the important point. It has to get... They each have to take an equal size of the border. I'm not sure that's rigorously true in every kind of Gemini region, rectangle you could build. There might be a way for like one of them to take more of the border than the other if they could replicate the shape of the larger. I don't know, but like it's hard to imagine. And in this small, it seemed like on this small scale, it really had to be half and half on the border. And there's only one way to do that. Well, there's this 6 I keep putting off even looking at. It says 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Range 4 to 7. You got it. And then you've pointed out a bunch of the... Now, you might want us to do this and say, oh, there's your 5, but that's unjustified. This could be a 4, and then there just happens to be a 5 next to it. In this case, though, that's really a 4. And that's really a 7. And that's really a 5. I broke it. Yeah. Right. In fact, it's not really a 5, because if you do this, the 7 can't fit. This has to be a 7. So the 5 goes this way, and then the 7 comes up here. Now that's a 5. And if it went here, we'd have a problem with this cell, so it doesn't. It goes there. This 6 needs at least one more cell, so it has to come down. Not true. It could join up with this region. No, it couldn't, because it would isolate one of these two cells, whichever one it doesn't use to join. So it has to come down to at least here. And now this 5 does have to join up here, as I predicted it might. Well, that was a good start. Range 4 to 7. Now there's a new corner here. These cells all have to be together. And they have to get out either via a 7 or via a 6, but I don't know which. But, okay, this 6 needs at least 3 cells total. It has to be at least these 3. And then maybe it's these 3, or maybe it's some more coming down into here. Could this join up with the 7? It would be kind of difficult, right? It would have to come all the way to here. Or here. Well, not here, because that would strangle the 4. It would have to come to here specifically. The 4 would have to do exactly this. The 6 would have to finish these off. The 5 would have to come down to here. Or here, I guess. But then this 7 would have to grow quite large. I don't think this works. You end up with a conflict between this 7 and these 5s. So let's try that. And I don't like to just try random things and see if they work. I like to at least have some justification to put something on the board. But in this case, like, I had the thought, going here would be highly constraining. What would happen? And then I kind of followed it through in my head and / out loud, which feels a little bit, I don't know, better than just trying things. I have a reason to think this might be a problem. Anyway, so all this stuff, I mean, it resolves. It doesn't matter. But this 5 has to come down here, and it can't block in the 7, so it's got to go this way. And then, I mean, this 7 has to do exactly this. And now, what is this 5 going to do, right? If it joins up here, that's fine. But now you're stuck. And if it doesn't join up here, that goes there, and this 5 can't... Yeah, this doesn't work. You can't do that. This 7 can't use these 3. They have to go here to be the 6. Wait, this is even worse. Isn't it? Yeah, this is horrible. Oh man, what was I doing? So I guess you do have to allow this? And there's some way that it works out here that I missed? But there isn't. These 5s really are in trouble. Okay, let's start over. I think, well, actually, you know what I could do? I could just ask the computer to confirm to me, hey, this is the point where I think I've reached a contradiction. It's all correct. Okay. How on earth can that be? Because if I say, sorry, 7, you're not allowed in here. I'm going to join these 6 up. This 7 has to do this, which is very clearly wrong. So this can't be the case. The 7 actually has to do this, and then here, and then here. That's the 7. Right? Yeah, of course. So what is this 5 doing? Oh! I thought it had to come down this way, but I had sort of imagined this was part of the 7, even though I didn't draw it in. But it can do that. I see. Now, there are 6 cells here. This 5 needs 5 of them, so the 7 has to go there, and the 5 can take these. The 7 can take at most 2 of these cells, right? So it's got to go this way by at least 3. Oh, the 6 has to come here. So we're going to find these are the same 7, right? They have to be, and then there's a square in the corner. no justification for closing that. In fact, I think it has to be as long as possible, right? Okay. I needed a little bit of a nudge from the computer to, like, well, I don't know. I think until a few videos ago, I hadn't used the hint button at all, and I used it. It doesn't say hint; it says confirm. I used it when I had like reset. I'd gotten to a contradiction, reset, got the same contradiction, reset, got the same contradiction, and then like the third or fourth time, I was like, "Am I wrong here?" And it said, "No, you're right." And that led me to notice what hidden assumption I had made or something. And like you could always try, like if you didn't have a hint button, you could reset the puzzle and rederive all the stuff you think you knew again and see if you made a mistake in any of it. And I think that's sort of the ideal, like, platonic way to puzzle. But clearly you can make the same mistakes again, and also it costs a lot of time. If you've done a bunch of stuff that you think is true and you're considering undoing it all, you know, obviously you can make your own decisions about when you're going to check this button. But I think I might start using this when I'm thinking of resetting and there's a lot of work to do. I'll check this to see if resetting is actually necessary. So can I do 2 more in this area to gild this? I know there's something in here. Three to 4, mingle shape. Well, this... Nope. I was going to say it has to go this way, because it has to be a different region from this 3. That certainly is true. But it could do this, it could do this. Who knows? That can't be a wall. Because if it were, these 2 4s would have to have the same shape. I hesitated there because I was like, wait, what if I did this and I had a separate region here? But we have range 3 to 4. So these are the same. And if there's a wall here, there can't be a wall here, which I guess we knew. This is range 3 to 4. This has to expand to touch one of the 4s. And if it touches one, it has to touch both. Because if it does this, we need another L here. So it, in fact, this is a 4-line region. Then we have to do at least this. This can't go out. It would become a 4. So we have to do that. And then this. And then this, but maybe one more. We don't know yet. So this 3 can't curve now. It could have a minute ago, because this looks like an elbow, but remember, it might actually be an S. And so I was imagining, oh, we might do that. But now that this is really fixed at being an elbow, it can't go that way. We have to have this. And this has to be a 4. How much space is in this whole area? 3, 6, 9, 11. So I need 2 4s and 1 3. Oh, if this went out, I would have 2 problems. Mingle shape, and also these would be cut off. So it can't go here. But it could come further down. This can't be an L. These would be trapped. So there's a wall there. So this is where my 3rd region in the area is. It can't be part of this, and it can't be part of this. It has to go at least 1 in each of these directions, because the other 2 can't reach. And if I do this, I have a mingle shape problem. There are actually two, because this would have to be another S. So we have that. And now we finally know this has to continue, this has to go there, and can't... Oh! I broke it. I broke it. This can't continue and it can't stop. I know I said I'm willing to check this button, but I'd like to know what I got wrong here, because clearly, if I just press that button, obviously it'll say, you have a problem. Oh! No, I was fooled. This looks like an elbow piece, but it isn't. It's a part of the puzzle that's missing. So this can't extend because of mingle shape, but it can... oh, no. It is part of the... okay, never mind. So it can't extend and it can't stop. So this will clearly say you're wrong. Yep. Oh, I've never... you can actually click reveal and ask what specific mistake is there. That's interesting. So, okay. I said before, these... if there were a wall, we'd have two L's next to each other. So there isn't. So these connect. And if we go here and continue, then we have another L. So that's a problem too. So these have to be the same region. And we have to do this and this. This can't get to here, because then it would be too big, so it stops. We have this, we have this. Now, this can't be an elbow, because it would touch another elbow, so it does that. These are all very straightforward deductions. We could ask, and it'll say, yeah, you're correct, of course. Right? That's what it says, okay. The text is a little small for me. That's gotta go there. That has to go there. And it can't stop, and it can't go straight. Oh, well, that's sort of easy. I can't believe I missed this before. If it goes straight, we have this problem. And if it stops, we have this problem. So it has to do this. No choice. Then we have to do at least that. How did I decide which of them went here before? I don't see any justification for doing it one way or the other. Well, this has to go here. This, oh, in fact, it has to go even further, because this is a 3-beam next to a 3-beam, so it has to get a bit bigger. We have at least this. And now it can't be an L, because as it showed you, there's a mingle shape problem, so it's a 3. So we have to do that. Ah, and so one of these two has to be a 3 elbow. I don't know which. Maybe they do this. Maybe they do this. Okay, I do know which. It's not this one. This has to continue. But suppose I didn't notice that. Even so, one of these is definitely a 3 elbow. And so this can't be. It has to extend. And then it turns out this is the one that goes. Okay. One more? One more. Something over here. Range 3 to 4, mingle shape. Are any of these regions size 6? That would be very impactful. Okay, there's also, I guess, ones that are very linear are useful. Which I guess is most of them. This, whichever one of these extends into it, it becomes an L. And so this shape can't be an L. So we know there's a wall there, which I guess we already knew. whichever one of these comes down, there's an S on this square. So this shape isn't an S. That's interesting, but... what does it mean? I guess it means, specifically, you can't do this. So you have to take at least this tile. That's useful, I suppose. So these two have to be together. Okay. I mean, we're making progress. Not anywhere specific, but... I'm making a lot of true statements. It's getting pretty messy now, though. Becoming a little hard to tell, like, where I can do something useful. I think areas like this, where no matter how you complete the region it's in, this shape is an L. Regions like that seem important because they allow you to definitely carry over information into an adjacent area. I have this as well. Okay, yeah, for example, this cell here is an example of what I was talking about before. No matter how it's joined up, it's part of an L, either this one or this one. So this shape isn't part of an L, so it can't go here. It has to go, well, it may go here or it may not, but there's a wall there. So this has to go there. And now, whichever one of these two continues, one of them is a 3 elbow. And so this cannot be a 3 elbow. It has to do that. Now this is a 3 elbow, you gotta go there. Now we're cooking, right? This can't take just this square. It's gotta go there. And so this square is still a little bit undetermined. But... well, maybe we're not cooking as much as I thought. Maybe it's just a snack. But by completing a little bit like this, I can now see how this has to join up. It can't go here and become an L. It has to go up. And that gives us this region. And now we know this can't be a 3 elbow, so it's got to go there. This is a 3, so this can't be. This is a 3, so this can't be. This is a 3, so this can't be. This is an L, so this can't be. This cell, if it went here, we'd have a mingle shape problem because it couldn't merge with either of these two, and it couldn't stop because it would be the same as this. So it has to go there, and that's that region. But that doesn't tell us what to do here. we have to figure this region out. It's a little bit tough, actually, to have this cell not be a 3 elbow, isn't it? It has to take both of these, I think. No. Because if it does that... Well, yeah, that's possible. Okay, suppose it took only one of them. Well, I guess it, you know, it can't go up or... It could go down, I guess, but then it would have to make an elbow here. Or up, and it would have to make an elbow here. Unless it joined with this region. But if it does that, these guys are toast. So I guess maybe this is an important thing to draw. That is clearly a wall. And so this, I think, has to be shaped this way, right? And then we get this done, and now we finally know this can't be a T. It goes there. Okay, I gilded this window. I'm pretty happy with that. I didn't completely finish the area. There were a puzzle or two that I left by the wayside, but tomorrow we can go see where this is headed. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.